today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the do's and don'ts of IELTS speaking test. It's Hussein from Info IELTS, where we help you achieve your desired band score in a single sitting. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video, because I'm also going to be sharing with you the costly mistake candidates make while taking the speaking test. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. So let's talk about the do's. Here comes the first one. Give factual answers in part 1. Part 1 is the part of the speaking test where you are asked personal questions about yourself. Here, the examiner does not really need you to give details. All they need from you is a short factual answer, although not a yes or no answer, but then not as long as what you're going to give in part 3. So just give the facts plus a bit of extra. So as a rule of thumb, do not give more than 2 sentences for your answer in part 1. Okay? Here is our next do. Have a good body language. The examiners are humans, so they want to feel like they are speaking to a fellow human being, not some sort of robot. Imagine talking to the examiner and you're looking away. Instead of looking the examiner in the eye, you're busy looking sideways, looking somewhere else. This puts them off. Even though they have no choice, they still have to continue with the test. They really won't have the opportunity to relate with you and interact with you well. Okay, now to the next. Speak for 2 minutes in part 2. Even though the examiner is going to tell you you have 1 to 2 minutes to speak, it is very, very important for you to speak for 2 minutes. In fact, I often tell my students never to stop speaking till the examiner interrupts them. In other words, you are meant to wait for the examiner's interruption. The moment your 2 minutes is up, they get to let you know by telling you that your time is up. Here is the next do. Speak for no more than 30 seconds in part 1. Like I said earlier, part 1 questions are just personal questions. Your longest response should be 30 seconds and nothing more than that. The moment you start speaking for more than 30 seconds, the examiner is going to interrupt you. And most of the time, this interruption is not often palatable because it makes you feel uncomfortable and causes you to start imagining things that are not quite real. Lastly, speak for 1 minute in part 3. Part 3, most of the times, is the determinant. In fact, your performance in part 1 really don't impact your score as part 3 does. Part 3 is where the examiner is able to ascertain if you could speak about general topics. Giving short answers in this part tells the examiner that you are not comfortable with the language. Now to the don'ts. Never give memorized answers. This is something that puts examiners off. Avoid anything that makes you give prepared answer. Instead of giving a prepared answer, focus on improving yourself such that you are able to give natural response to the examiner's question. Okay, now to the next. Don't be too fast while speaking. This is something you must not do on your exam day. You could be doing that while you're speaking with your friend, while you're speaking at work, but not on your test day, because you're going to make more mistakes than you should. Tell yourself you can't speak faster than normal. This will help you maintain a moderate pace that will allow the examiner to understand every single thing that comes out of your mouth. Now to the next. Do not give personal example in part 3. Of course, you have to speak for 1 minute, and for you to speak for 1 minute, you have to have something to say. And as such, I often recommend you give your response, then you give example in part 3. but never a personal example. Take for instance, if you have a question like, how much has technology improved the way we communicate with each other? A response as, yes, it has improved the way we communicate. Take for example, I can now talk to my mother in the village owing to technology, because I can now place a phone call to the person. That is not a good response, because you're giving a personal example which is not acceptable. A better response could have been, well, I think technology has greatly impacted the way we communicate these days. Take for instance, people in the remote area can easily communicate with their loved ones living in city centers. That's a great response, because the example there isn't personal. It's a general example that has no personal affiliation. Now to the very last don't. Never give a yes or no response. Yes or no is not an adequate answer in IELTS speaking. While taking IELTS speaking test, the examiners are trying to evaluate your speaking prowess. So if you keep on saying yes, no, how would they be able to do that? People can evaluate how well you could speak when you make sentences, not when you give a word in English. So saying yes or no is synonymous to you giving a word answer, and that will definitely result in a low band score. So never say yes or no, even in part 1. Take for instance, if you have a question like, do you love your job? A response as, yes, I do. That's a poor response. It's not adequate. A better response would be, sure, I really love what I do for a living, because I'm a kind of person that loves to impact life, and teaching enables me to do that. Great. Instead of giving a yes or no response, try to give reason for your answer. Provide a reason why your answer is yes or no. Beginning of this video, I promised to share with you the costly mistake most candidates often make during the IELTS speaking test. But before then, if you'd like to get the strategies that got me band 8.5 in the speaking test, check the video linked in the description box down below. And if you'd love to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification icon so as to get notified each time I upload a new video. Here comes the costly mistake: giving memorized answers. Owing to fear of unknown and then fear of failure, most candidates often try to resort to preparing answers for their test, especially part 1 answers. I'm going to be telling you today that this is the worst thing you could ever do to yourself. IELTS examiners are trained to spot memorized answers. The duty of the examiner is to assess you and give you your deserved band score. By giving memorized answers, you're preventing them from doing their job. You make their job much more difficult, and this annoys them, so they decide to mark you down. Instead of giving memorized answer, take whatever the examiner is asking you as a conversation and give your honest opinion. Learn topic specific vocabularies. Whenever you are asked a question, it's easier for your brain to activate those vocabularies and help you give a proper response to the examiner. Okay, that's all I've got for you for today. If this video has been helpful, kindly give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see me cover any other topic, let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I wish you success in your exam.